Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 123 of the Jiu-Jitsu Dummies podcast. We are brought to you by Black Belt Digital Marketing. Anything you need to build your business on or offline. It's website design, Google Ads, graphic design, printing. We can absolutely help. I say we because I do own that company. Check us out at Black Belt Digital Marketing on Instagram or our website, bbdigitalmarketing.com. You can request a free review of your online presence today. My name is Milton Campus. I'm a brown belt training out of South Florida. We do have Bo behind the camera. Things look different because we're in a new studio in Boca Raton. We got Christian behind the cameras as well. Ben's around here somewhere. We're up at the Podcast Junkie studio in Boca Raton. So this is going to be our new home for a while. Don't forget to like, comment, download, share, click that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate the support. Today we have Roger Gracie black belt, Nicholas Gregoriades. He's going to be joining us in a minute. We're going to do a quick few shout outs first. We want to thank our friends over at Flow and Roll. Hands down the best custom gi and no-gi gear in the business. Don't believe us? Visit them on Instagram at flow_and_roll and check out all of their custom designs. They're working with academies across the country. You can find our podcast tee there. You can go see them. Their website is flowandroll.com. You get 20% off with code JJD. But the really interesting thing is they have an incredible pre-order program for gyms, especially if you're a new academy, you need to stock up. Talk to them about their pre-order program, very little money out of pocket. You can gear up. He'll actually send the gear right to your students. So makes it a lot easier for you, and he gives you a couple little bells and whistles there. Or gives the students a few bells and whistles. They get a little bag with the gi and some nice stuff. Also want to shout out Neutral Zone CBD. We got them. Where would we have them? Hey, there's Neutral Zone. Neutral Zone CBD. No matter if your aches and pains are coming from lifting weights at the gym, rolling on the mats, or just a daily grind of life, Neutral Zone has a product for you. Find your Neutral Zone by finding the best products for your pain wellness so you can continue your active lifestyle. Check them out at Neutral Zone. It's My Neutral Zone on IG and neutralzonecbd.com. You get 25% off with code JJD on their website. Then we have Leo Optics. I got the shirt on today. I'm repping. Leo Optics is a sunglass and apparel company specializing in signature bamboo sunglasses. Do I have my sunglasses around? I love these. These are the ones I just wore on the ride. These are actually bamboo. Freaking love them, right? Amazing. Their passion is rooted in the jiu-jitsu lifestyle, founded in Southern California, with products reflecting the BJJ lifestyle. So leooptics.com, code JJD gets you 10% off. And last but not least, we have BioPro. We got the box. Where's BioPro? BioPro is basically it bears some explaining because a lot of people have misconceptions about, taking something like this. This is a bioidentical alternative to human growth hormone. BioPro contains genetically activated growth factors that support DNA repair, regenerate cells, and helps to balance healthy hormones in both men and women. All of this, there's no needles, no side effects. You can check them out at bioproteintech.com, and you get $30 off with code JJD. Now, it's on regularly priced kits. They run some specials every once in a while with it's $100 off a 2-pack. You get $30 off if you're buying something that's not already on sale, and the order has to total more than $295. All right, so check them out again, bioproteintech.com. All right, that's everything. Bo, did I miss anything? No, we're good? We're good. All right, let's get Nicholas in here. Let's do this. Hey, Nicholas, how you doing?
Hey, buddy, I'm good.
So let's tell everybody why you're in the car first, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah. So, man, last night I locked myself out of my apartment. Locking myself out is it's a bit harsh on me, to be honest, because what happened is my apartment door, it can only be locked with the key. So you can't really lock yourself out, if you know what I mean. You can't really just close the door and be like, oh shit, I'm locked out. But I put the key in and turned the key and locked it, and then the key broke off. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but so it was late last night. I was on my way to my girlfriend's house when this happened, and there were no. I called a mobile locksmith at my girlfriend's house in Santa Monica, and he came over and he said, I don't have this kind of key, so I can't fix it. And anyway, long story short, after this podcast, I'm going to the locksmith to get this sorted out. But yeah, I'm in the car on the phone, so I take full responsibility if the audio visual on my side is not good. It's nothing to do with Milton. He's a true professional, and he gave me lots of warning, and he wanted me to have a proper mic, and like, yeah. So
You're
I'm sorry
fine,
about
man.
that, to the audience and Milton.
You're fine, man. We've been here before. The sound is good. The picture's good. I think we're okay. So don't worry about it.
Okay.
So let's dive in a little bit. Let's. We can't just glaze over the fact that you are Roger Gracie's very first black belt, right? I think that's probably the thing that most people know right off the bat about you, correct?
Yeah, and I'm happy to talk about that. But before we go on, I just have to get this out. We can't glaze over the fact that you actually look a lot like Joe Rogan. I'm sure people have told you that before.
No. Me?
Yeah.
No way. No.
Same kind of vibe. Yeah.
Oh,
Without
do I?
the cap, no, because I see you got hair, but like it's just the face structure and the body type, and behind the mic. Yeah.
I take that as a compliment.
Look like, right? Yeah, it definitely is.
I'm a little bit taller than him though, just a little bit. But go ahead, tell us about that journey.
Yeah, man. I got my black belt. Jeez, man, it's been a while now. I think it was 2008. So what is that? 14 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that I don't know, Milton, if you're the same, but I'm at the point now where I realize that looking at my life, looking at the rearview mirror, I see everything just happened the way it was supposed to, and I can see God's influence in that series of events. And yeah, it was just a great adventure. I was very blessed, very lucky. I worked very hard. It was just a confluence of factors that allowed me to train with Roger and get my belt from him. And yeah, it was truly a great adventure.
So you started out, you are originally from South Africa, correct?
Yeah, I grew up right at the tip of South Africa in a place called Cape Town.
Okay.
And I'd done a little bit of martial arts out there, a little bit of nogi, grappling, some boxing, quite a lot of judo when I was a younger kid. So I wouldn't say I was like an advanced level martial artist by any stretch, but I kind of, I'd had some experience in martial arts. And then I moved when I was 24. I moved to London, UK, and Roger had just been there for a year as well. He had just opened up his own academy. And so he was the guy I went to go train with, not because he wasn't really that famous then, but just because I had a friend who was training with him as well, another guy who'd left South Africa. So I went to go and train there. And I always say that was, I really believe your life is like a set of branching paths, or the phrase I've learned is bifurcation points. And, you're at each one of those splits, each split will result in a very different experience moving forwards, right? And that particular choice to go to Roger's Academy, there was another academy that I was looking at, but I look at that choice and realize that was one of the best choices I made ever, because it led to a whole bunch of really cool things. And I just know if I'd taken that other path, it wouldn't have been as good,
Yeah. I'm always telling people, like, I'm if it wasn't for certain things, even though the really bad things that happened in my life, I wouldn't be exactly where I am right now. I don't know where I would be, but I'm pretty happy with my life. I don't know that I would have found jiu-jitsu. I don't know that I would have started the podcast. I don't know if I would have been there. Did we lose him? No. Oh, he's still there. Okay.
No.
I don't. I heard a little bell, like it hung up. I just wouldn't be in the same place. I'm always telling people, just keep on, good or bad, keep on putting one foot in front of the other, and you'll, if you're a good person, you're gonna have some good things happen to you. But so you South Africa to UK. When do you meet Roger Gracie? Is that you don't? That's not till the States.
No, I met him in England.
You did meet him in the UK.
England.
Oh, okay.
So when I arrived in the UK, that's when I started training with him.
Okay. So you get your black belt in 2008, but I've heard you talk about the fact that you also did some judo. Really, did you start with judo? Your martial arts
Yeah, I
training?
mean, the judo was at like from the ages on and off from the ages of 7 to like 15. So and it was more off than on for a couple of years in the beginning. From 7 to about 9, I was really into it, and then I took some breaks, and then I came back and would go train every now and then for a little bit. So I was definitely not. I think I was a brown belt in like junior level judo, if I'm not mistaken. Like, so I wasn't. I mean, I wasn't amazing at judo, that's for sure. But I was kind of familiar with the feeling of grappling and like wrestling with someone, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So now I've also heard you talk about, I call it the dirty little secret of jiu-jitsu, at least. You mentioned at your age, that rolling or maybe rolling hard isn't the best thing for your body. Right? I've heard you say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
why? So why do we still do it? I just turned 50. Why do we still do this?
I think partly it's, I mean, like if we just want to call it out, it's ego, right? Like do it because you don't want to don't want to accept that you probably shouldn't be doing it and that you're getting older. I mean, like let's call it what it is. But for me, what I've really identified is, the actual act of like wrestling and sparring and like doing rounds and stuff like that is to me really very low on the list of things that I do jiu-jitsu for. In fact, it's not even one of the reasons I do jiu-jitsu anymore. And I think of it as the cost of entry to go and hang out with these wonderful people that I spend time with. For me, it's the camaraderie and the excuse the pun, grounding nature of jiu-jitsu, just going and being there with like people in a very physical way and joking around with the guys and, like just, it's just like a little sanctuary, the academy, and that to me is why I keep doing it. It's definitely not for the techniques and the wrestling and stuff, because that stuff, I still appreciate good technique and I still appreciate learning more about the art, but like sparring and stuff, man, it hurts. It just
Yeah.
hurts. That's the truth, right?
I say that it's. I feel like it's cleansing. It cleanses the soul. At least for me, it washes away the stress of the day. I mean, I'm usually training in the evening, so
Yeah.
I'm training probably 5-6 days a week. My gym is open 7 days a week, so I can really go whenever I
Nice.
want. It's especially when I need it most, when life is throwing some crap my way. There are difficulties in my life, whether it's
Sure.
work or the personal side. It's the one thing that I know that I have to do in order to survive mentally more than anything. So it's for me at 50. Yeah, I mean the aches and pains start to stack up. I spend at least an hour before I leave the house just massage gunning and stretching and doing things that, just to make sure that I can get out there and keep up with these little guys. My school, we have a big kids program, so a lot of the kids come up, these guys are 16 years old, strap on a blue belt, but they've been training since they were 5. These kids have been training longer than I have. I'm at 9 years. June was 9 years that I've been training. So okay. It's like just to keep up with these guys. It's there's a method to my madness before I go to the gym now. I can't just walk in anymore. I'll throw out my back pretty much.
Yeah, it's the back, right? The lower back. I think that the nature of jiu-jitsu, like to be honest, the rest of my body's in great shape. I don't have knee issues. I don't have shoulder issues. I don't really have neck issues. It's just the lower back. Like I find that the nature of that constant flexion from the guard position, especially when people are like driving into your guard and pushing down on your hips, right, or pushing down on your legs, it causes a lot of flexion in the lumbar part of the spine. And to me, it's not really the warm-up that is that important. It's the post-training stretching I've found that makes all the difference. If I don't stretch my lower back and like stretch out and undo all that compression that's happened in the session, then invariably like I get a lot of tension and stiffness in the lower back right after my body cools down, and even more the next morning,
Has there ever been a time that you've said, I think I should quit, I need to stop? Even at the lower belts, not just now.
At the lower belts, no, but like recently I was teaching a seminar in, where is it, North Carolina, and I just taught another seminar in Delaware the day before, and then I was catching a flight to North Carolina, and that flight was canceled. So I had to take an early morning flight and basically, got off that flight, and then literally my host picked me up and took me straight to the gym to teach this other seminar. And then at the end of the seminar, this young brown belt wanted to roll, and I was like, stupidly ego. I was like, okay, let's roll. And after that, we got back to my host's house. My girlfriend was with me on this trip, and I just they wanted to go out and get some lunch or something. And I remember I was just like, no, they wanted to go for dinner, and I just said, look, I just haven't got it in me. I was like, I'm so beat up and tired, and I could just feel, like, I don't consider myself an old man, and I think I'm in excellent shape, and I'm limber and healthy and got a good sex drive, and I'm excited about life. But like, I realized then at that point, I was like, yeah, there's certain things you can't do anymore. Like, it's just, and that was the hard limit for me. That 2 seminars in one day with sparring, like that was like, not hit the limit.
Yeah, now, well, it's funny because I'm training more now than I did before. I feel like I have learned how to train around my injuries, and a lot of it's back. It's my lower back. I have blown out a knee once, but my knees I'm okay. I just feel like I've learned how to, it's like a little bit more pulling guard, get somebody down into my game. I competed a little bit at lower belts at like white and blue. So I just haven't really competed at the higher belt. So I'm not there for that. I'm there for body, mind, soul than I am for competing or I've got to win practice, So I just go in there, I play my game. I don't let anybody really take me out of that. I know that if somebody's going to be competing and they want to roll hard, I'm down, but let me know. Let me know that you're about to compete and you want to go hard, and I'll, it's my choice to say, yeah, maybe I'm not the right guy for this role for you right now, So I'm I guess at 9 years, 7 years in the same gym, I'm not afraid to say those things. I guess also at my age, I'm not afraid to say those things. I think a lot of people, I've seen it, they'll just, I'm going to do this hard roll no matter what, or I'm going to roll with this guy who's obviously, trying to hurt somebody. I'm like, I'm fine with saying, no, don't want to, not going to roll with you today because I know that's going to be a hard roll.
Yeah, and you literally don't know them. I had a student, or have a private student, and he was telling me about this pretty douchey guy in his gym that always like ends up hurting people or roughing them up. And I just said to him, well, next time he asks you to roll, just say no, right? Like, it's your prerogative. You don't, you have a boundary. And I think it's an important part of becoming a functional adult is being able to say no and just put a boundary in place and just tell someone that you're not comfortable. And just, a lot of us are people pleasers, or we grew up as people pleasers, and we grew up in institutions where there was usually the abuse of authority, and we never really learned how to say no. And I think it's two-part. It's that sometimes a lot of us don't say no because we're too nice, but then a lot of the times it's also we don't say no because, coming around to that thing I mentioned earlier, it's ego, right? You think you can still hang with the 17-year-old purple belt or whatever, and the truth is, man, like, you might be able to at our age, you might be able to give that kid a run, but the issue is it's the price that you pay right afterwards. Like, and to me, I'm really at the point where that price is just not worth paying, man. Like, it's just, I don't think. There's another issue in the jiu-jitsu community that there's this weird idea that I'm in pain and my body's falling apart, but I just duct tape myself up with bandages, and then I push through and I get back on the mat, and it's not intelligent, man. It's not intelligent, and it comes from fear. It's this need to prove yourself or need to show that you're a real man and a tough guy, and that never comes from a good place. That always comes from a place of fear or inadequacy. And I'm not claiming I'm not guilty of this. I've done this many, many, many times, but I'm finally at the point where I've realized it's not intelligent, and I don't need the approval, and I'm just not going to do that anymore. I refuse.
Yeah, I left because I used to train with a guy. He doesn't really come around anymore. He was purple belt, and he would walk in. He had every joint is wrapped, fingers taped up. Like I would call him a mummy. He'd look like a mummy. He'd come onto the mat with like spats on, no gi, again, knee pads, everything, elbow pads, knee pads, fingers all taped up. And everything. And if you rolled with him, it was like everything hurt. It's always a noise or like, oh, can't do that. For people that are in that situation, again, like you said, not afraid to say no. I'm at my heaviest, I was like low 240s. I'm in the 220s right now. I have people say no to me every day. I have guys that just like walk away. Like, that you make that eye contact, between rolls, like who's next, who wants to roll. At brown belt, I let people choose me. Like, I guess there's like the old school, don't ask a higher belt to train. I don't know if that's just a black belt thing, or is it like, white belt shouldn't be asking a blue belt or a white shouldn't be asking a purple. I almost never ask anybody to roll. I let them come to me. And a lot of that is because of size and my weight. I'm in pretty decent shape for a guy that's walking around in the 220s, but I feel I want them to want to roll with me. I don't want somebody to be like, this guy's going to beat me up. But I call myself I'm a gentle giant. I'm gonna, like, if you're lighter than me or less experienced, I'm gonna pull guard. I'm gonna let you work. I know how to do this now. I can check my ego at the door, and I know let me I don't have to beat everybody up, and I don't have to win every round or submit you 20 times during a round. I do play a little bit of a game for myself, though. If I let somebody like really attack, in the last minute, I just want to at least try to submit them at least once. Just let them know that, hey, even though I let you beat me up for 4 minutes, I'm still here. I still know what I'm doing. So again, there's still that little ego in there, just to let them know. We played a little game last night. My coach had. Sometimes we have a big female presence. I don't know if you know who Felipe and Sofia Amarante are. Husband-wife team. She's a world champ. She's just competed most of her career. And sometimes we have 2 different rooms in our gym, and sometimes the girls train separately from us. So we actually did a little, they call it like butt soccer, I guess. You sit on your butt and you're just like throwing the ball like into goals. I don't know why he did it.
Oh, cool.
I think the girls wanted to like have this little competition with the guys, and we had this soccer competition with everybody. And it was really fun. It was different for us than like doing the normal warm-ups, but I had a blue belt when I was trying to get the ball. He kicked me in the chest.
Wow.
Said, why did you kick? What are you doing? Why'd you kick me in the chest? So our second roll in, I rolled with him, and then I playfully really put it on him, and so like things like that. That's still ego. That's my ego.
But what if it had been like a black belt that was tougher than you that had kicked you in the chest?
That was a black belt that was tougher than me. I probably would have made all the same jokes that I made to the blue belt, like joking, like, "Oh, I'm going to get you later." But I don't know. I don't know. I didn't really think about that. What do you think what should have been going through my mind?
Look, I can't say what should have been going through your mind. I can tell you the way I'm processing this because, okay, I'll give you an example of a close friend of mine who's a good purple belt. He's 51 years old. He loves jiu-jitsu more than anything, trains 6 times a week. And he was at an academy working with an instructor who was giving him private lessons. And the one day the instructor just really disrespected him. He came late, and there was an altercation, and he was just really disrespected. And my friend, to his great credit, and it really illustrates his growth, I was so proud of him. He called the guy out, and he said, "Look, man, like, this is not the way you treat people." And I respect that, because just because you're a good jiu-jitsu athlete does not give you the right to be a douchebag or treat people inappropriately. In fact, it happened to me a while back. I made a comment, and truth be told, the intention of my comment was not vindictive or malicious. It was said in jest, but it was inappropriate, and it was taken as an insult. And this guy called me out on it, and I was glad he did. I was happy he did, because like a lot of guys, and the fact is, like, a lot of adult jiu-jitsu guys especially if it's been their career for their whole life. I'm not going to name names, but there's a lot of guys out there, like big names. These people are emotionally stunted children because no one has ever called them out. It's the same as celebrities. It's, when you're a martial arts instructor or a black belt, you automatically get given this level of respect and authority that sometimes you don't deserve, right? That's the honest truth. Just because you're a really good athlete and really good at fighting doesn't mean you're automatically worthy of respect, right?
Yeah.
And so I think like we really need more of that in the jiu-jitsu community. And it's especially like, I don't know if you're an instructor, do you teach?
I coached in my first gym at White and Blue because I was my coach's first student, so I was pretty much like his highest level. Yeah. But I haven't in the current gym. No, I have not coached. But I'm one to take a new guy under my wing and say, hey, come on, while they're drilling this, come over here. We're going to work on this. And my coach knows to give me the big guys, especially if they're new.
It's not quite the same, but like if you're an instructor, right? Like you get used to like, yeah, you're on the mat. Like what would you say the guys do, right? I mean, it's the nature of the thing, and I think. You got to be really careful to check yourself. Like it's happened to me when you like just started once with like, I was in another business and I was just like delegating stuff. And these guys were just like, wait a minute, like you're not in charge here. Like you know what I mean? But because it's just the nature of, I think that's really important in jiu-jitsu. It's really important if we're going to take this thing to the next level, we really have to root that out, and root out, that's why they're these dudes who like, you're hearing all these reports now of guys like abusing women and pedophiles and like, it's because they've been unchecked, right? Yeah. They like, it's a very often a Brazilian guy. He arrives here, like he's basically a thug who's good at jiu-jitsu, and he opens up a school and starts like, he's got this authority because he's teaching these people who are like, oh, wow, jiu-jitsu is this amazing, magical thing, and this guy's amazing at it. And he's
Brazilian. Oh, my God, right? It's like there's also that allure around somebody who's from Brazil.
Yeah. And, I got very quickly cured of that Brazilian thing. But I went to Brazil a couple of times and saw that is, I mean, yeah, there's no reason to respect someone from Brazil the same way there's no reason to respect someone from America or Japan or Nigeria or whatever, like, just because they're from that place, like. Yeah. I mean, there's parts of Brazil that are like, man, I hate to say it, it's a shithole, right? It's like I would never ever want to live there, let alone visit there again, right? And I know there's parts of every country that are like that, but like this guy's Brazilian, he's got to be this like super powerful, all-knowing guy. Like, no, dude, that's not true, right? There's awesome Brazilian human beings and scumbag Brazilian human beings the same way they're awesome Americans and scumbag Americans. Sure. Like, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's really something people need to check. And I'm quite, as you can see, I'm getting quite animated about it because, man, I've seen it over and over and over again. Like there's this hero worship, and it's just not, it's not healthy.
There's a great video. It's on my Instagram. I think I have it pinned on my video page on Instagram. It's a video of I don't remember her handle. I think she's a blue belt. Maybe she's a purple belt now. She does a lot of content. She just got funny stuff. And she does one where there's a voiceover of two men arguing. It sounds like maybe it's like a courtroom scene and the judge is trying to tell, right? So they're just fighting back and forth. But on the screen, it's showing Brazilian and American jiu-jitsu, like there are two people arguing for Brazilian and American jiu-jitsu. But then she cuts away. It's all her. It's her in different outfits and different gis. But when it cuts away, it's like it's Australian and the UK and like all the other countries. So like there's this battle of American and Brazilians, right? This whole like American jiu-jitsu, or is it Brazilian jiu-jitsu, or is it just jiu-jitsu? And then there's all these other countries, like there's all these other countries that nobody else is having this argument. It's this argument between like the Americans and the Brazilians about just jiu-jitsu. It's really funny. Again, if you go to our at Jiu-Jitsu Dummies page on Instagram,
cool. Yeah,
it's hilarious. It is my favorite video of all time. Again, I've reposted it a couple times and I pinned it. It's hers. It's not ours. I'm giving her credit, but it's a funny argument. It's funny that you say that because I think that, again, there is this hero worship that's already around a black belt, right? It's automatically, let me say it this way. We've had a lot of guests come on that say, just because you're a black belt doesn't mean you're a good person. And just because you're a black belt doesn't necessarily mean you know how to teach.
Don't miss your morning routine. Buy a pro.
Thank you to Neutral Zone CBD, a combat family-owned company that supports athletes and the people who love them. Neutral Zone strives to deliver clean CBD products for sports recovery in gummies, lotions, balms, roll-ons, and more. After a competition, a hard rolling session, or a tough day on the job, Neutral Zone has a product designed to help you reduce inflammation, increase cell rejuvenation, and may even help with aging joints. Visit NeutralZoneCBD.com and get 25% off your order with code JJD. And follow them on Instagram too, at MyNeutralZone. Special thank you to the crew over at Flow and Roll for all their support. Flow and Roll is renowned for their incredible no-gi rash guards, shorts, and leggings. Flow and Roll has quickly become the premier custom apparel provider for academies big and small throughout the United States. Reach out today to discuss your custom order and ask about their incredible pre-order program. You can send an email to flowandroll@gmail.com or visit their Instagram at flow_n_roll and shoot them a direct message. And yes, they can create an awesome custom gi for your academy as well. Visit flowandroll.com to check out their awesome designs, and while you're there, pick up a Jiu-Jitsu Dummy signature tee exclusively at flowandroll.com. And remember, you'll get 20% off your purchase of t-shirts, rash guards, or gis with code JJD.
And I say that to people now, like, oh, people ask me, would you open a school? You're almost a black belt. You're a businessman. You own a marketing company. And I'm like, no, I haven't coached in so long. That's a different beast. You have to be a completely different animal to have that patience, to understand, are you going to write a curriculum? Or are you just going to throw shit against the wall? And it's like, this is what we're doing today. I've seen it happen both ways. I'm in a more structured environment at my school. It's not a written curriculum, but where for 1 month we do one series, and it starts in one place, and then it's like through the entire month, again, 7 days a week, we're doing the same things. And you have to have done it for a long time to then be able to teach other people. At least that's what I believe. You said it's different when somebody comes in to the gym and they're a white belt, especially if they're bigger. I'll always grab them, like, hey, I'll roll with you, come on, and I'll take them to the side. We'll get our instruction from the coach, and when he's done, I might take them, I call it Jiu-Jitsu 101, start in my guard, pass, show them side control, things like that. But that's in no way, shape, or form the same as coaching a room full of 30 people or sometimes more. But I think that there's this I think that we have elevated certain people, we've put them on this pedestal, and then I don't want to say maybe give them license to, but I'm in South Florida, and a lot of that stuff happened in Florida, a lot of these allegations against, black belts. So I know it intimately. Some of it was in my former affiliation, that a lot of the guys that got in trouble. So I know it intimately, and I've talked to a lot of people about it. We've talked about it on the show. We've had guests on talking about it on the show. We've had female competitors talking about it on the show. And it's this thing that these kids, they're so impressionable. What is it called when they're grooming them? They've been groomed. Like, these black belts know that everybody's looking up to them, and then they start grooming them, and then this shit happens. And the excuse that I guess the age of consent in Brazil is like 14 versus 16 in most states here, that doesn't fly here. These are our laws. These are our rules for a reason. You can't just come here and do what you want and then flee. A lot of these guys have fled back to Brazil.
I'm reminded of a story the other day. I was on the beach in Santa Monica. It was like a couple hours before sunset, and my girlfriend and I were taking a swim, and there were these two guys on the beach. I'm sorry, can you still see me?
Yes.
Yeah. There were these two guys on the beach, and the one guy, he just took off his shorts to get changed into his swim trunks, right? Just took it off, like naked, like his dick hanging out there, waving in the wind. But he didn't do it quickly. You sometimes
did he give it a nice stretch?
Look, it wasn't far off. It was he kind of then he took off his shorts and he folded them up and put them on the side, and then took out his swim trunks and shook them out and looked over at his friend, and they were joking and talking about stuff, and then casually put his shorts on. And there were these kids playing in the sand, a few yards down from him. And I just was I walked up to the guy and I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What are you doing? There's kids over here. You can't just do that." And he was definitely European. I think he was German, and he got quite a shock, and he was he said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I was like, "Man, this isn't Europe. You're in America now. Like, you follow our rules." So like when I hear that, like, "Oh no, the age of consent in Brazil is 14." I don't care. You're in America. You follow the rules of the land that you're in, right?
Yeah.
And I should make it very clear that I don't dislike Brazilian people. I actually have some very close Brazilian people that are very close to me in my life. Roger's one of them. Roger's one of the best human beings I know, truly one of the best human beings I know. But I am not just going to give anyone from any ethnicity or skin color or job title or whatever, I will not just give them respect. I want to know who the man is in front of me before I just, give them my allegiance or approval or respect or whatever it might be. I need to know who you are.
Is that the person that you always were, or is that something that you feel like you've learned coming up through jiu-jitsu?
No, it is completely not, dude. It is like, no. I will admit, when I was a younger man, I only measured people by how well they could fight. That was the number one. I remember, like, Rickson Gracie, I would say was borderline idolatry or hero worship of that guy. I was like, this must be the most self-actualized human being that's ever walked the face of the earth. Like, that's how naive I was. I remember once when I'm so embarrassed to say this, but when I met Roger again, it was the same thing. I was like, wow, this guy's amazing. And we were in Brazil once. He was competing at the Worlds, and I was also competing that year as a purple belt or a blue belt. And we went out for dinner, and he ordered a Coke at the dinner table. And I just couldn't get my mind around this. I was like, this guy's one of the best fighters in the world. Why is he drinking Coke? Like, I couldn't, I was so naive, so narrow-minded. I was like, I automatically equated, okay, this guy, he's the best jiu-jitsu fighter in the world. He must be one of the healthiest people in the world. He must be one of the best human beings in the world. He must be one of, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how I can only make these comments, or I can only describe this thing because I was on the other side of it for a long time.
Yeah. So do you feel like you are the person that you are in spite of jiu-jitsu and in spite of some of the bad seeds in our world? Does that make sense?
Do I feel that I'm the person I'm in spite of jiu-jitsu? Bro, I'll tell you straight up, like, it's been a double-edged sword. Jiu-jitsu it helped me in many ways, but it also stunted me in many ways because, again, it was that same thing. A lot of people just would look up to me and respect me because, I was good at jiu-jitsu and I was a good teacher and I got my black belt quickly and blah, blah, blah. And the truth is, I was incredibly undeveloped in other areas and childlike in other areas and bit of a dick in other ways. I had to be humbled by life over the next, I had a black belt for 15 years and man, life has kicked my ass. It's shown me very clearly, through divorce, through other very difficult experiences I've had. It's shown me man, you're not as cool as you thought you were, right? You're not as good of a person as you thought you were. It's been very difficult, man. So I would answer that, Milton, by saying it's been a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Has jiu-jitsu, I would expect, like it has for me, it's got helped get me through those difficult times. It's been the one refuge, right? It's been the place that I've gone to when, if I'm sitting at home feeling under the weather, if I'm sitting at home feeling a certain way about my relationship, jiu-jitsu is where I go to, like I said it before, feel like it's cleansing of the soul, at least for that couple of hours, for the time that I step on the mat to even a few hours after, it's just washed it away. I run my own company. I haven't really talked about this. I am just in the final stages of getting divorced myself, and it's been tough, but jiu-jitsu is where I've gone. It's where I've pushed myself to go there because it made me feel better. The camaraderie, the time after, rolling when we're in the parking lot, getting in our cars, and my buddies are asking me hey, how's everything going? I need that. If it wasn't for that, I don't know if I would have made it through as easily. Even doing this, coming to jiu-jitsu, speaking to, my co-host Miguel, who you didn't get to meet today, or Bo, my producer, it's the thing that got me through. So even though this is a different part of jiu-jitsu, this is because of jiu-jitsu. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for jiu-jitsu. But this is, this hour, 2 hours that I spend, talking about jiu-jitsu is cleansing for me.
Yeah, it's cool. When you were talking about that, First of all, I appreciate everything you've said, and I can relate to pretty much everything you just said. Especially the I like the cleansing of the soul. I like that kind of imagery. But someone said at a black belt promotion at our academy a while back, he said jiu-jitsu is the longest relationship he's ever had. And but I realized, it's the longest relationship I've ever had as well. Well, that's not technically true. I've had a lot of childhood friends that I'm still close with, but definitely, like, it's longer than pretty much any romantic relationship I've ever had. And I always say the mat, it's always there. Like, if you look back at your life since you started jiu-jitsu, like, everyone's life has ups and downs and trials and tribulations and successes and failures, but it was always there. I could always just go to the jiu-jitsu mat, and, like, even if I didn't roll, I could just go see the guys, right, and just instantly feel better. And that's something. It's one of the reasons jiu-jitsu is so popular, is because that particular thing is so lacking in our world, and it's becoming scarcer and scarcer, this community and real connection between humans, because we're all working from home, or many people are working from home, and people are always distracted because they're playing on their phones, and there's so many, like, calls for our attention. And then you have this thing where, you go into this room and you're with people for an hour or 90 minutes or whatever it is. You're with people, you're touching them, talking to them, learning with them. It's an incredibly sacred thing. The older I get, the more I look at it, the more I realize how I'm more humbled I am by what a beautiful thing it is,
I didn't think about it till you just said it, that I may have to start saying that about jiu-jitsu, about it being my longest relationship. I used to say that about my dog. I had a dog that passed away a couple of years ago, and I'm like, this is the longest. 14 years old. He was 14, maybe even 15. That was the longest relationship I've ever had, and now that's still longer than I was with my wife for 10 years total, married for 3. But jiu-jitsu is going to be on that list of, I think, will wind up being the thing that I say was my longest relationship. Speaking of my dog, I did have a question, and I heard you talk about this on a podcast, and then somebody asked this question, so I have a feeling that this person knows you. On Instagram, it was FM Brandon. Do you know somebody named Brandon? He said,
"What? He's a good friend of mine."
When did you realize you were a cat person?
My ex-wife, actually, I look back at that relationship, and despite the fact that it was characterized by a lot of negative things, one of the positive things is she bought me 2 kittens for my birthday one year.
Yeah.
And that was about almost 5 years ago. And those little cats, man, like, I literally did not know it was possible to love something as much as I love those 2 little creatures. Like, so it was, and it was almost instant. It took like 4 or 5 weeks, and I was like, I'd die for these little cats. I just love them so much. So I would say it was then when I got those two kittens, and got to know them. And the thing about cats, which is, I think, very similar to dogs, or maybe not quite the same with dogs, but there is overlap. Like, cats are as different to each other as people are as different to each other. They each have their own very distinct little personality and set of habits and characteristics. And I just thoroughly enjoy that. I have an affinity for those creatures. Like, I really, I'm going to get a bigger house soon. And the only reason I'm getting a bigger house is so I can have more cats. Like, I want another 2 cats. I don't need a bigger place. I love my place, but, like, it's too small to have more than a couple of cats. So, Mark, it was 5 years ago when I got my kittens. That's when I realized. And I hope one day you realize too that you're a cat person, Mark.
Is Mark a dog person, or claims to be a dog person?
Yeah, he thinks he is. He thinks he is, but that's only because he's never had a cat.
Wait, this will be funny then. Well, I don't know if it's funny, but so I've always had dogs, never had cats. Thought I hated cats, and my wife and stepdaughter found a little baby kitten by our pool. We had a townhouse for a little while before we moved, and my wife comes running upstairs. She's like, "We found a cat by the pool," and I'm like, "Don't bring it inside." I'm like thinking fleas, and a cat. When you say cat, I'm thinking a bigger cat. I go downstairs. This kitten fit in the palm of my hand, and I was just like, I fell in love instantly. And I had my dog Then we had the kitten. My dog passed away. We still had the cat until I actually just moved this last weekend. Like we've separated and just moved out of the house this weekend. So now I've actually been in the house, and every once in a while, like I'll see something off to the side, and in my mind, I'm just thinking like the cat's coming in the room, and it's not. I don't have the cat. She has the cat. But I am right now in this debate. Do I get a dog? I'm going to get an animal. Do I get a dog or do I get a cat? Dog. I'm in an apartment. I've got to go down and walk. Here. Go ahead.
I'm pulling jiu-jitsu rank, and I don't want to say I'm ordering you. I'm strongly urging you to go down and get not one cat, but 2 cats.
Oh, 2 cats.
I heard a long time ago. Yeah. I read this many years ago. It said, if you're going to get a kitten, get 2, because it's twice the fun and no more hassle. And that really is true. I mean, if you're going to clean one litter box with 1 cat or 2 cats, it doesn't really make much of a difference. And they will keep each other company, and it's much better for both of them. And double your fun, bro. So I'm really excited to know the names and the personalities of the 2 cats when you get them.
I'm leaning towards cat because being in an apartment, it's, you've got to walk. Like so I had a small dog. I had a little lap dog. It was a Yorkie. So he was really easy. When I lived in a house or I lived in an apartment, it was easy. Take him out the back. Needs only a little bit of grass. Didn't need to run around a lot. When I was in an apartment, I had like the pee pads his whole life, or pee pads on the balcony, and let him out on the balcony and he'd do his business. And that was real super easy. So that was, in my mind, as easy as a cat. I would like to get a bigger dog, so you're not going to have your bigger dog, shit on a pad in an apartment or even on the balcony.
Yeah. So
I've been leaning towards the cats because they're so much easier. Like they take care of themselves. They give you a little bit of love when they want to give you love, and then that's, it's just easier maintenance. And I feel like I want a bigger dog, but I think it's unfair to have a bigger dog in an apartment. I just think they need to run around. It's almost unfair. I think it's actually like borders on cruel when you have a bigger dog in an apartment, and all they do is just lay around and wait for you to to take them out. And what do most people do? They take them out for a walk a couple times a day, and that's it. And it's just the walk. It's not like that. Let them run and let them be free and let them play with other dogs. I'm sure people are out there that take them to dog parks. I don't know that I have that time though. I'm running 2 businesses. The marketing company and this podcast is a business for us. So I've been leaning towards the cats, but now you're saying 2 cats. Now I'm like, oh boy, am I going to have 2 cats?
I know you'll do the right thing, Milton. I know you will.
I've always thought of that. Well, help me out with this then. So this is good. I'm getting some not just jiu-jitsu instruction here, but in my mind, I feel this is no offense to you. I say this first. In my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm single. And I have always thought that it was weird when a guy has cats. Christian is behind the screen over here. One of the producers is nodding his head yes. I've always thought, I'm like, I'm going to be a guy. You hear that, like the jokes about the cat woman, like a cat person, a woman that has In my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to be a guy with one cat. Now I have 2 cats because you're telling me I have to get 2 cats. I thought it was weird. I mean, you were divorced? The cats came from your wife or your newer girlfriend?
No, from my ex-wife.
From your ex-wife.
She got the cats for me, so.
You keep those cats? Those cats you kept after the divorce?
I kept my cats. 100%.
So then you start dating.
No one's taking my cats from me.
So then you start dating. I
cleaned up, man, and I cleaned up, and it was partly because of cats, bro. Like people,
really.
Look, dude, I could not give a flying continental, whatever what people think of me. I really care less. There are certain things I care about, which is how people perceive the services that I offer. Like, do they feel that they've been fulfilled when they come to a jiu-jitsu class? Do they feel I've treated them with respect and everything? But with regards to my lifestyle and who I am and how I present myself, I do not care. And if someone, it's like these guys that, like, in America, it's quite a thing. Like, dudes are like, there's some guys who are like, yeah, if you don't drive a truck, you're not a man, or like, yeah, man's got to have a dog. Like, I mean, that's so.
Man's best friend, right? We've said that's what we say in this country. I don't know if they say it in other countries, right?
Sure.
A dog is a man's best friend.
They do say it in other countries, but like, man, if someone, man or woman, judges me because I have 2 cats and I love them and look after them and that's my thing, like I really, really like, I want that person filtered out of my life. Like
Okay.
I don't want those types of people in my life. Like that to me is so myopic. It's so insecure. It's so like anti-masculine, to be honest. Like some of the most, man, my business partner, this guy is the most masculine dude I know, right? Like he was the high school quarterback. He owns more guns than like a small African country. He is a third-degree black belt. He's a black belt level boxing. When he walks in the room, he's got a presence. He's a proper man, and he's got 2 cats. Right? Like I that is just, you got to get over that. Sorry, brother.
No. I'm glad. I'm glad that I'm here. I didn't know that we were going to talk about this today. Well, I knew about the cat person. I wasn't sure that I was going to ask it. I'm like, what is this cat person? But then I did hear a podcast that you were on where you talked about it as well. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I've been talking. I guess I've been talking myself into it. So now the question is, rescue, right? That's like the best way to do it, is try to rescue.
I think that's rescue. But like get them when they're kittens, man, so that you can really like domesticate them and like have them bond with you. Like that's my look. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what I would do if I were you. And I'm super excited to hear about them, man.
You see what he's doing, right? He's like, he's already, I have those cats already. He's putting that in my mind. I like it.
Yeah.
I did have one other question for you, but before we do that, let's talk a little bit about your school. Now, if you could take us back for a minute, you helped start a larger affiliation, but now you have a new affiliation. Is that right?
I started Jiu-Jitsu Brotherhood, must be close to 15 years ago. And my partner and I at the time, we built it up to reasonable success. And then partly because he and I just weren't getting along, and partly because I wasn't ready for it. That's the truth. I wasn't ready to lead an organization like that. I was too much in an experimental phase of my life, like working with psychedelics and traveling around, and like I just wasn't stable. I wasn't settled enough. I didn't have my head screwed on straight. So it kind of, our relationship split up, and a few of those affiliated academies followed me when I transitioned to this new association, which is called Subconscious. And that's the one I'm running with that guy, the masculine cat man.
Okay.
Soon come to be known.
Was that your influence on him? Was that your influence on him?
No.
He had cats already?
Before I did, actually. Yeah. So, and that helped me get over the cat thing, is seeing him with them. And so now we've just signed up our 19th affiliated academy. And, I'm fully committed to it, and I'm having a lot of fun growing the association and realizing it requires a whole different level of skills that I'm having to learn on the fly. And jiu-jitsu's given me so much, man. Like it really has. It's given, on balance, it's given me, I can't even quantify how much it's improved my life. And now the association is largely about giving back. And also I've got a yoga teacher, and she said, she's older and she's just started her own yoga place. And she said, like, she's now realized she's at the age when she's been involved in yoga long enough that she's now a steward of yoga. She's become a stewardess of yoga, right? Like, and I think I'm now getting to the age where I realize like I'm one of the stewards of like the art moving forwards now. Like I've got to raise my game as an instructor, as a leader, as a human being. I've got to like get better, right? And because I'm not a competitor anymore. I'm not that young tough guy. I'm just not, man. I'm just not the man I used to be. I'm not that animal anymore, right? And that's okay, because this next phase is actually rewarding and challenging in its own right, So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm rambling a little bit.
No.
Yeah, I answered your question.
No, I appreciate that, and I wanted to. You're leading me to, again. You're going to be helping me out again, not just on cats, but let's talk about yoga a little bit. I've done a little bit here and there over my time in jiu-jitsu and martial arts, and I kind of have just some basic stretches that I do that are yoga-based stretches. Again, I just moved in by myself, and I'm like, okay, now I feel like I now have the time to maybe start actually going to a yoga class. How important is yoga to you? I would assume that you're using it more for for recovery or just basic maintenance? Was it something that you always did? Was it something that came about because of jiu-jitsu?
Well, I started yoga at 30, and I think maybe a little bit early, maybe it was 29, and I really went nuts on it, dude. I mean, I was just going sometimes twice a day, 5 days a week, and
Wow.
And then I did that for a few years, and then I got distracted by something. I can't remember what it was. Like I think it was when I moved to America, or there was something happened, and I just stopped doing regular yoga classes. And I would always still dabble with yoga and stretch a little bit, and I knew enough to, like, do a little bit of yoga on my own. But it was only recently this year when my back was just getting really, like, it was giving me a lot of trouble, and I said I got to do something about this. So I started going back to yoga classes, and I forgot, like, or I remembered when I went back to these classes, I remembered just what an incredible tool this is for rehabilitation, but also it's like such a preventative tool, right? Like, if you're doing yoga properly, it actually strengthens you. It doesn't just stretch you. It's not like everyone just thinks, oh, yoga is about stretching, but it's not. Yoga is about developing like internal core strength and teaching your body how to move in like, or how to repattern your movements in more healthy ways. Because the fact is, Milton, a lot of people are not going to want to hear this, but jiu-jitsu is not good for your body. It's just not. It's good for your mind, and it's good for your spirit to, as you said, like, go sweat and cleanse yourself spiritually, and talk to the guys, and it's excellent for all those things, but it is not good for your body. That's it's sure, you'll perspire a little bit, and there may be elements of it that you could argue are physiologically beneficial, but on the whole, it's not good for your body. It's a repetitive strain injury, right? Or it's just a repetitive series of movements that are, and if you really think about the nature of jiu-jitsu, you've got someone trying to twist you or bend you into a direction where your body is vulnerable and prone to injury right up until that point, right? So you stiffen and like contort and learn to defend yourself against that, and it creates a lot of imbalances in the body, right? And it creates a lot of inflexibility as well. So if you're serious about jiu-jitsu, if you want to be doing it for a long time, it's not even a question of like, should I or shouldn't I? You have to do something like yoga or some sort of active rehabilitation all the time. You have to, especially as you get older. You can get away with it till you're like 35, 36, but then it's going to catch up to you. So I realized the other day, no, bro, you're going to be doing yoga for the rest of your active adult life. As long as you're going to be a jiu-jitsu instructor or involved in jiu-jitsu, you're going to be doing yoga. It's like brushing my teeth. Yeah. It's not negotiable. I just got to do it. Right?
I've used weight training. I feel like I've used weight training as the thing that helped me with recovery. I feel like I would do jiu-jitsu one day and then weight training another. Now I'm trying to do, if I weight train, I would still go to jiu-jitsu at night. I try to weight train during lunch, around lunchtime, and then go to jiu-jitsu. But I was using it as like an off day from jiu-jitsu. I'd go weight train, and I still feel like, I feel like it helps it, making me stronger. I feel like it helps me on the mats, but I actually feel like it helped me with my recovery. But I'm at a point where I do think that I know how powerful yoga stretching, I would call it, yoga stretching has been for me, just getting on and off the mat. I get home, do it before I would leave for the gym, do it when I get home. Not a lot of time to do it on the mats. The mats are always full, so it's like a little difficult to like get on the mats and stretch, like go a half hour early to stretch at the gym. So I do it at home, do it when I get back. I'm realizing how much better I feel just doing that. I'm like, I really need to be doing like a full yoga session. Now it becomes, I'm sold on doing yoga. Now it becomes, what's the difference between doing yoga and then like hot yoga? Should I be finding something like that, or does that not even make a difference? Have you done both? Do you have a preference?
Yeah, I've done both. I do not like hot yoga. My girlfriend, for example, swears by it. I've got some friends who they love hot yoga. I don't enjoy it. I don't feel that it's good for me. I feel like it's too, especially, I just feel, when I do a hot yoga session, I feel like it's just too much. I feel completely exhausted. Drained. And I really, drained is the word. Yeah, much better word. I read somewhere, a very, very good coach. He said, exercise should leave you feeling energized, not exhausted. And that is my primary philosophy now. Is I don't, even with jiu-jitsu, you'll probably be very surprised to know I don't roll more than 10 rounds a week, probably closer to 8 a week, not a session, a week, dude. And that is more than enough for me, right? Like that is, so to go and do these like 8 roll sessions, like in one day, like my body my body tells me it's not good for me. Now that might not be the same for everyone. I would guess that you're the kind of guy who can handle that, right? But we're not all the same. We're just not. And part of being a martial artist and part of being a self-actualized human being is learning to really listen to your own internal guidance and not succumb to the pressures of the industry or the whatever, your peer group. Because in jiu-jitsu, there's this very, I consider unintelligent set of ideas floating around that includes, like, you got to be training all the time. You got to push yourself to your limits. And like, there was a meme where like, I think it was Keenan Cornelius, his hands were like all taped up and his fingers were like completely gnarled and messed up. Yeah. And it was something along the lines of like, no one sees the sacrifice involved. And like, then I think Matt Thornton from Straight Blast Gym, he put a comment on that meme that always stuck with me. And he just said, this is unintelligent. Like if you're training to the point where your hands are like mangled and you can't grip and you wake up in the middle of the night with like cramps in your hands, that's not intelligent. It's not. It's just not. Like sooner or later, then you're gonna hit a point where your body is just permanently incapacitated, and then there's no jiu-jitsu. Like then do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, at 50, that's my fear. At 50, that's my fear that I wanna be able to do this. Even at 50, in my mind, I want to be doing this for the rest of my life, as long as I can at least be associated with it in some way. I know that there's going to be a point where I probably can't get on the mat and roll, and maybe that's when I'm coaching or when I'm teaching or when I'm doing something related to jiu-jitsu. But I know, again, I'm not scared to tell somebody that I don't want to roll with them or that I can't do something, or we're doing a warm-up and my back is hurting. I'm like, that's just going to make it worse. We'll do warm-ups, and there's certain things that I won't do, and I'll just stand in the corner and do jumping jacks and then jump back in when I could kind of do it again. Like I'm doing something. I don't say I'm going to stand over here to be like that purple belt that shows up late so that it doesn't have to do warm-ups. Like, no, I'm going to do something else. I'm showing everybody, I'm not doing that because it's going to hurt my body, but I'm going to be over here doing something and exercise while you guys are doing this certain warm-up.
Don't do jumping jacks, man.
Yeah.
don't do, jumping jacks discoordinate the body. It's like an antiquated, what's the opposite of beneficial? It's not a good exercise. It actually, detrimental, that's the word, thank you. It's a detrimental exercise because it uses, your body works in a contralateral movement pattern, opposite arm, opposite leg, and it actually trains you out of that. Okay. So you don't want to do that. Yeah. Okay. Like you can read it. I mean, it's not my idea. Like it's from sports science. I learned that many years ago. But yeah, no, I respect you for that. It's a very subtle thing because you've got to, it's one of the hardest things to do, in my opinion, is differentiate between, am I taking a rest today because I feel my body needs a rest? I really feel it needs a rest, or am I just being lazy, right? Mm-hmm. And the ego can really trick you. It can really do a number on you, right? And you've got to really get in touch with yourself, and you've got to be able to answer that question truthfully. Like, do I need rest? Is my body screaming for rest and saying this is enough? Or am I just being lazy? And the problem is our culture, hustle culture, teaches you that, no, you're always just lazy. You're lazy. Mm-hmm. Go harder, work harder, do more. And that is just as detrimental as doing too little. It's just as detrimental.
I just had that happen to me. That was my argument. That was my internal, what you just described, what I went through yesterday. I moved, got my apartment keys on Friday, and I started moving stuff out of storage myself. Did it all by myself. No furniture. I got rid of everything, just kept all my personal stuff. But Friday to Sunday, I was moving, and it was to, second floor apartment, elevator, long walks, second floor of the storage facility, like the whole nine, back and forth. And on Monday, my body was shot. And I had that, am I being lazy or do I really need a break? And in my mind, I joke with my coach. I say, he's like on my shoulder going, he says this thing, it's a choice, like to get to jiu-jitsu or not. It's a choice. You either choose to come or you don't. But he's getting in our head. So I joke with him, but that little guy was on my coach, Professor Felipe, was on my shoulder telling me, like, get to class. So I went to class. Yeah. And I'm glad I did, But I know yesterday I needed a break. So much so, like, I got a really good night's sleep last night, and I feel so much better today. But after that session, I was just like, why did I do this? I just shouldn't have been there. But it was, I guess.
You sound like a slacker to me, bro.
It's yeah, I'm always on. I tell people, I interviewed a guy a couple of episodes ago. Said it's the first time somebody made me feel like I'm being lazy, because I think I'm one of the busiest people that I know, and when I meet somebody that's like, wow, you're actually busy. He's a flight instructor. He owns a gym. He runs something for like a course for police officers and gun control and all this. And I'm just like, when do you have to, what does your wife say about all this? My wife was arguing with me just because I had a podcast in the business, and you've got all of these things going on. I'm like, how do you have time in the day? But I'm probably the busiest person that I know, because for me, in a good way, jiu-jitsu is like part of my business now. It is. I named my company Black Belt Digital Marketing because of jiu-jitsu. I have the podcast, and if I don't train, how can I come on here and talk about it? I love jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu, it's my passion. But now it's like sometimes I tell them, like, you have to go to jiu-jitsu. You have to be better at jiu-jitsu so that you can continue to do what you're doing and talk about it and provide advice and ask for advice and have these amazing guests on and things like that. So there's that little part for me as well. And as the closer I get to black belt, for me, besides life throwing me a couple of curveballs recently, I want to earn the black belt. I don't want to get a black belt because, oh, well, you've been a brown belt for 2 years. I want to earn it because I've earned it. I want to know that I belong there. That's me saying it to myself. Nobody's saying that to me. That's my internal dialogue. I really want to earn it. I don't want anybody to be like, 3-day-a-week guy for 2 years, you get a black belt. Is that really, like, are you really a black belt? I want to be, I'm here every day. I'm here 5-6 days a week. I just want to earn it. That's just the way that my dialogue is going right now. It hasn't always been like that. I've been a 2- and 3-day-a-week guy throughout my, my jiu-jitsu career. But now I'm just like, not that there's a desire for the belt. I just want to know when it actually happens, that I've, in my own mind, that I got it because I deserved it and I put in the time, not because, time has passed. I'm being that, again, 2- or 3-day guy, because there are people that happens to. I don't know. What's your take on promotions, and is it like time or time on the mat? Do you recognize one or both, or is it just like an individual decision with each student?
It's you can't just say it's performance based, because there's some guys, they start jiu-jitsu at 40, they're unathletic. And those guys are going to get better, but they're never going to be great. They're still going to lose to the strong white belt wrestler, 21-year-old kid that comes in. And what am I going to do? Just never promote the guy? As long as he's coming and he's learning and he's open, you got to use your discretion, right? There's a lot of 3-day-a-week guys that, if it's going to take longer. Sure, might take 15 years instead of 8, but I don't think that you need to have a certain level of being able to tap everyone in the gym or compete. I think that's nonsense, dude, and it's
okay.
It's not necessary in my opinion. Yeah.
All right, so Nick, we're gonna start to wrap things up. I'm gonna go through the final questions. We call this
the drill down.
We usually have a better sound effect. My producer usually does it, but since we're in the new studio, I did it. So, okay. So these are common questions. You saw that we put out posts for questions every time we have a guest on. These are common questions that we get. So we've just kind of put them all in, and this is evolved over time. So, quick answers. You can elaborate. Feel free. This is not a speed round. So, first question: preference, gi or no gi?
Gi.
Takedown or pull guard?
Takedown.
Music during rolling, yes or no?
Music, yes.
What's your preference? What's your go-to?
Music during rolling.
No, but I mean with style of music, artist.
Progressive house or progressive trance, electronic music for sure.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of pushback from students on that? I know in my gym sometimes we do. What's this going? I love it though, actually. So just.
Yeah, I don't actually get much pushback.
No.
because I think they've got to the point where they understand it doesn't matter. Like when it comes to the music, I'll take feedback on pretty much anything.
Yeah.
But man, I'm like when we're rolling and I'm running the class, that's what we're listening to.
Gotcha. Now, are you someone that watches a lot of jiu-jitsu when you're not on the mats? You like
Almost zero.
Zero, really? So it's like leave it at the office?
I mean, like if there's a position I know I'm lacking in and I need to learn it, then I will go and study it. But I don't just put on jiu-jitsu to watch for
so
fun.
like fight to wins, WNOs, that kind of stuff.
Zero.
You're not in interest? How about like the UFC?
Yeah.
Do you like watching fights?
UFC, I do like. I enjoy the spectacle of the fights. I don't enjoy the kind of the energy it's starting to attract and the energy it's starting to like project. It's like it's turning into thuggery in my opinion. Like and it's starting to like play out like kind of reality TV with a lot of drama and name calling and that element of it I do not appreciate. I do not respect. But the athleticism and the skill of the combatants is just, I mean, it's at a level that I never even thought it could, I never imagined it could get this good.
So you're talking about like the Conor McGregors of the world, kind of? I didn't mean to interrupt you, I'm sorry. Like the Conor, like that style?
But, that kind of energy is not something I respect. Like I'm more of a GSP type guy, you know, like that's what I respect.
So I would assume that you have that same feeling obviously about jiu-jitsu and like, you know, the Gordons of the world and this craziness that surrounds him with this back and forth.
I can't even begin to imagine the pressures that guy is under. I don't know the man. I don't know who he is. Like he's obviously like an incredibly successful athlete. And I think at that age to be in the position he's in, he must have so many pressures. He's got so many people putting him on a pedestal. Like I can't make a judgment on that guy for being the way he is. It's not it's not the energy that I resonate with at the moment, but he's just a young man finding his way in the world and he's got an extraordinary set of circumstances that surround him. And I don't think he's a bad dude. I just think like every now and then some of his opinions are quite like jarring and not, they don't really align with my opinions.
I've called him out on the fact that I believe that he's a closeted nice guy. He's actually a really nice guy. When you hear people meeting him that have met him, like he's a super nice guy. They've gone to his seminars or they've trained with him. Everybody says he's nice. It's this. I feel like it's almost like Colby Covington in the UFC. Like he felt like he had to be the bad guy to get attention.
The heel,
be the heel to get the fight, to get the next big fight, to do same thing with Colby Covington. You talk to people that know him, he said all that shit about Brazilians when he was in Brazil, and then he comes back and these guys are like, he doesn't think like that. That's not him. It's a show. It's a character that he's putting on. I don't really love it, but with those two in particular, once you hear and you peek behind the curtain a little bit, you're like, all right, it's just show. It's just like WWE style. I don't love it either though. It's not my preference to watch them or hear them talk that way. I love to see them perform. Love to watch them fight, both of them, but I don't love the theatrics. So next question here. What is your ultimate goal? What do you want your legacy to be in the world of jiu-jitsu?
Wow, I've never been asked that question.
This is a thinker. This is usually a thinker.
Yeah, that is quite an intense one.
I'll say it this way. How would you like to be remembered? How do you want people to remember you?
Authentic.
Okay. That's a good answer.
Yeah. Thank you.
Now this is the big one. This is a pretty serious question that we ask here on the podcast.
Is it about cats?
No. Do you or do you not wash your jiu-jitsu belt?
Wow, that is damn. I'm gonna plead the
controversy. This usually leads to a lot of controversy.
Actually, no, I'm not one of those guys who I'll never wash my belt, but I generally don't wash it. Truth be told.
Okay. Yeah. It's not because of the mojo washing out your mojo. You just don't wash it.
No, it's not. Okay. It's just like I find they degrade really quickly when you wash them, and I've got a really nice belt like with the embroidered stripes, and and I kind of don't want to mess it up. Truth be told.
Okay, I'm a belt washer. I'm not so attached to the
sorry,
belt.
I gotta go, dude. I gotta go.
Oh,
I'm gonna...
he's messing with me. I was going to say, I've never been one that's attached to the belt. I've always had, when I was a blue belt, my coach gave me a belt, but he encouraged me. He actually told me, like, go buy this belt. It's a really good belt. It was by, I don't know if they're still around, DOM. It was a really good belt. It was thick, and it was so much thicker that it didn't untie as much. Just the way that it was built, and they might still be around. So I've always wound up having two belts. I have a sponsor that gives me a belt. Coach gave me a belt, and then the sponsor gives me a belt with my name embroidered on it. So I've worn both. So I just throw them in the wash and wash them. And then when we started doing the podcast, people would we had Wagner Rocha on, and he sitting right next to me, like, I felt like he almost scolded me, like, you're not supposed to be washing your belt. Are you crazy? Well, why would you wash your belt? And I didn't get funny. His take on it was, you're making it appear that you've been on the mats longer, right? Your coach is looking at that, saying that it's worn because you're washing it, not because you trained. But I'm like, but I have two belts. Like, I literally have one that's like a brighter, newer brown, and then I have the one that's older. And but I've never looked at it until he said that. Then I was just like, I'm gonna be honest. I started washing them less. Yeah. I spray them a little bit more now with other stuff. We have a sponsor called Neutral Zone Clean, so I'll spray it with their spray, or maybe I'll Lysol it.
Sure.
I do feel that I probably have a little bit more attachment to the belt, to a black belt. If and when that happens, I feel like I would probably have a little bit more attachment to that belt that my coach gives me at black belt, because it's kind of probably like at my age. That's the last belt. That's the last belt promotion I'm going to get, barring stripes. Right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you to Feito IT and AV, specializing in commercial and residential automation, security cameras, CCTV, POS, and more. Check them out at feitoitav.com or call 305-428-2515 and let them know the dummy sent you. Thank you to Neutral Zone CBD, a combat family-owned company that supports athletes and the people who love them. Neutral Zone strives to deliver clean CBD products for sports recovery in gummies, lotions, balms, roll-ons, and more. After a competition, a hard rolling session, or a tough day on the job, Neutral Zone has a product designed to help you reduce inflammation, increase cell rejuvenation, and may even help with aging joints. Visit NeutralZoneCBD.com and get 25% off your order with code JJD. And follow them on Instagram too, at MyNeutralZone. Special thank you to the crew over at Flow and Roll for all their support. Flow and Roll is renowned for their incredible no-gi rash guards, shorts, and leggings. Flow and Roll has quickly become the premier custom apparel provider for academies big and small throughout the United States. Reach out today to discuss your custom order and ask about their incredible pre-order program. You can send an email to flowandroll@gmail.com or visit their Instagram at flow_n_roll and shoot them a direct message. And yes, they can create an awesome custom gi for your academy as well. Visit flowandroll.com to check out their awesome designs, and while you're there, pick up a Jiu-Jitsu Dummy signature tee exclusively at flowandroll.com. And remember, you'll get 20% off your purchase of t-shirts, rash guards, or gis with code JJD.
Only time will tell if you're going to disrespect your black belt the way you disrespected your other belts.
All right. You know what? We're going to leave it right there. Listen, let me give you a moment. Do you have, let's mention your gym. Tell everybody where it is. If you have any shout outs that you want to make, anybody you're working with, or sponsors, companies you work with, now's your time.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Milton. It's been a really fun conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you.
Man, I'm always available. Like I'm an open book. If anyone wants to reach out and contact me, I'm always around. You can find all my stuff, including my association, my books, my videos, everything. You just go to coachnickg.com, and that is Nick with no K. So it's coachnicg.com.
Awesome. Well, like I said before, don't hang up, because we're going to do a couple of promo pictures, but I really appreciate you taking the time. It was great having you on. And I will let you know as soon as I get my 2 cats, I'm gonna send you a picture. I'm gonna text you a picture first. But thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it. So again, give me a second. I'm just gonna read a couple of just our closing out, a little housekeeping, and then we're gonna take those pictures. Check us out, everybody, at Jiu-Jitsu Dummies for all the ways to watch, listen, and support. I'm Uncle Milty BJJ on Instagram. I usually have Bo give his Instagram, but he's not mic'd up. But we're going to leave it there. Thank you for watching and listening, everybody. Peace, love, jiu-jitsu. Us.